I feel like there's a lot of people in our situation that need that person to tell them, you can make it, stay positive, stay motivated, do what you have to do, and keep moving forward.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast. My name is Nancy Moore, and I am the host of this weekly podcast that provides career and creative inspiration to help you build a passionate and purpose-filled life. You'll hear from guests that will help you tap into your creative potential, pursue a career with passion, and build on your biggest and best resource, yourself. I'm excited to have you join this conversation. I'm so happy you're here. Let's get started. Well, hi, everybody. I have a special guest this week that has been incredible to work with in life and in my events. She has come alongside me and sponsored some different events because she is community minded and such a supporter of women. This person's name is Tania Bledsoe, and Tania is my incredible State Farm agent. And Tania's story is grounded in grit, service, and unwavering commitment to growth. Let me tell you a little about her. She is the daughter of two hardworking parents who migrated from Mexico to the U.S. in search of opportunity, and they are such hardworking people. Tania, because of them, learned early on the power of perseverance. She joined the military after high school, intending to pay for college, and then stayed more than 20 years. And in this visit, you are going to hear more from Tania about her military experience, how that shaped her, how she found her calling in the insurance world, and what's next for her as she continues to grow in her business and impact her community. I can't wait for you to hear this episode with Tania. Okay, before we get started, I'd like to thank my sponsor, The Rooted Willow. The Rooted Willow provides non-toxic body products that are rooted in nature. Their products were developed by two moms, Danielle and Cody, because they are on a mission to provide non-toxic and ethically sourced body wellness products. Their tallow body lotion and lip balm are my two faves. I'd love for you to check them out online, therootedwillowok.com, or on Instagram at therootedwillowok. And now on to the episode. Yes, I am so happy you are here. She is in the studio today. She is my State Farm agent, my incredible State Farm agent. And if you can believe, everybody has different passions, and Tania's passion is insurance. And she has an amazing story to tell. And I'm excited to have you here so people can get to know you better and your story. So let's just start out by talking about yourself. Tell me a little about you.
So one of the big things that about me, and it also plays out in my career, is that I was born in Mexico.
Yes.
My parents, they came from single parent households for one reason or another, but they wanted to come to America to find us a better life. And that, has built and led a lot of things that I decided to do. So born in Mexico, I moved here when I was 6 years old. And it's very interesting. I feel like there's a lot of people in our situation that need that person to tell them, you can make it, stay positive, stay motivated, do what you have to do, and keep moving forward. So, and I have 3 younger sisters. We're 4 total. I'm the oldest of 4, but love my parents very much. I'm very grateful for the family that we have, and I'm, ambitious. We try to do what we can.
Well, I've met your mom, and she is ambitious.
Oh yeah.
And that has transcended to you because you have such an amazing work ethic. I know that from working with you. Mm-hmm. And so is that where your work ethic comes from?
Absolutely.
Your parents?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, we saw the struggle that they went through with coming to this country. and having us, it was just two of us, my sister, that's 2 years younger than I at that point. We are very lucky that we have a very strong family and support system. So we learned to support each other. We saw how hard our parents worked to make sure that we got ahead, and the struggles that they had with us, as far as navigating a whole different country with a language you're not totally proficient in. So, and they did everything they could, and they did very, very well for themselves. So I often think like, man, I'm never going to live up to that, but it's incredible. I mean, you just have to keep motivated, keep positive, rely on your support system. And that was what they taught us. And I think we have done a great job in trying to keep that together and building our families as well.
You have that in you, though.
Yes.
You have that work ethic. You have that just to be the best that you can be. And speaking of being the best you can be, I do want to talk about your background because you're a veteran.
Yes.
And I'm so appreciative of that. But you saw a way to make your circumstances in your life, create opportunities for yourself.
Right.
And so I would love for you to kind of share about joining the military. And, I think that kind of aligns with your personality. We've talked about that, but if you could kind of share a little bit about your background with that, because you served a long time too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So in high school, all of my friends, were talking about what they were going to do and what colleges they were going to go to and so forth. And that really wasn't ever something that, we were just surviving, trying to get by and do what we could and do the right thing. So I knew having that strong will and mindset from my parents, I knew I'm going to do that. I didn't quite know how, but I found the military, and some of my friends were going to the military. And that was one of the ways that I thought, you know what, I know my parents don't have the means to maybe provide all of that for us. And that's one way that I figured I could help my family in doing that for myself. Plus, I was very adventurous, and I had this dream of going to school in California, and my mom didn't like it because she was like, no, that's too far. And so that was one way that I thought, you know what, this is how I can do that. And right out of high school, I went to TCC for a year. And out of high school, I decided, okay, I'm going to do this. Talked to different recruiters, figured out what the best branch for me was, and asked a lot of questions. So your job is very important. Depending on what your job is in the military is very important as to how your career is going to go, and whether it's going to translate to the civilian side. But I had no idea what I was doing. I had no family that was prior military or anything like that. So I just started asking enough questions to figure out that certain jobs had certain incentives, like the GI Bill, student loan repayment, or a signing bonus and such. So I started asking those questions. They started offering us different positions to go into. And I figured out that chemical operations specialist was one that somehow had all of these bonuses. Didn't realize how dangerous of a job it was. But I was like, okay, that's great. So I joined. It's a very great experience. I will say it's not for everyone. My sister and I both joined in the buddy system. I brought her along with me. I was always, I'm going to do this, ambitious. I'm going to do that. I'm going to travel. And she was more quiet and liked to be at home. She was shy. So we had different experiences in that. I had a blast. And she did too, but it wasn't for her. So it's not the path for everyone, but it does teach you a lot of things. You do a lot of things that you would have never thought you would have done or that you could do. So it teaches you, like, yes, you can push yourself and do this. And your mindset is a big part of that. So, so I did that. I was in that career for 10 years. We were mobilized in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Luckily, at that time, we didn't actually have to go overseas. So that's how I got my veteran status. But I do have quite a few friends that at that time, I felt like I'm not doing my job. I felt like we need to go. But looking back, I'm grateful that I wasn't put in that position. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to last so long in the military. because it's hard. It's difficult. And you do experience very, things that could affect you for the rest of your life. So we got that experience, and then, we got that rating, thankfully. And then afterwards, I realized, there's other jobs. As I learned more about the military, I realized there's other jobs that have other skill sets. So I decided to move to a different position where I could actually get a stipend for speaking Spanish. So halfway through my career, I changed to a civil affairs specialist. And in that position, you do a lot of things. It's funny because we ask people how to define that job, and you basically, anything that needs to be done, you have to figure it out and get it done. But we do key leader engagement. So basically what that means is before we have a big campaign or mission or something that we're trying to do, they would send us to go talk to the leadership in that community and say, hey, here's our goals and how can we help you? Or if there is something that needs to be done. So one of the missions that I volunteered for was in the Dominican Republic. And we went to the Dominican Republic to build a school. And we did several pop-up clinics for assisting the community there. It was right closer to the border of Haiti. And we provided medical treatment like vaccines, visits. We did all kinds of things. So we brought military doctors, and we worked with other countries as well to do that. And we would set them up at a local school or, whatever area that worked for that community. And that was a very strong experience too. So you learn a lot about yourself and about life going through those things. And that was, I would say, for me, a very fulfilling experience as well, because you actually feel like you're making a difference in someone's life and you're helping someone that actually needs help. So that was great. And I did that until, and in that time, at the end of my career, I got married, had children, and then that's where it got really difficult. It wasn't just me traveling around all the time and doing whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
So once I hit 20 years, I knew, because my kids were around 6 years old around that time. So I knew, I was like, okay, I love this, but my family comes first. And they're getting to the age where they're starting to ask, where's mom, and so forth. So my husband is not military, and he was very supportive and very helpful in supporting me in that, continuing that career. But once I hit 20 years, I decided to put in my paperwork, and I officially went through after 21 years of service.
Gosh,
so.
That's amazing. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that developed you in so many ways, as far as even leadership, figuring things out,
right.
And just having that stick-to-itiveness. It wasn't like you served a couple of years even, which is still amazing when people do that, but you did for over 20 years.
Yes.
And so I would love people, because at the top of the interview, I mentioned you're my State Farm agent. And so I'd like for people to understand how insurance came into play, maybe, what you graduated in college, and then why you decided to go into insurance.
So going through college, so I was in the reserves for most of my career. I did active duty time because we did go to missions and stuff like that. But usually I would try to make that, if I could, happen during the summer. And then on the other parts of the year, I attended school. So I didn't end up going to school in California. I went to OU, and I was going, as most people, back and forth about what I wanted to do. But I knew, because of my parents and their history, that entrepreneurship and business was ingrained in me. So growing up, my parents had a restaurant for 15 years that they started and ran for a long time. And I saw that. I saw the whole process. I also was very stubborn. So my mom would always tell me, like, you should be a lawyer. You should be a lawyer. So coming into college, that's what I was looking at. But once I got there, I said, no, I don't know if I can if I can stick to that path. But business was very interesting for me. And so I was going back and forth between linguistics and business. I was able to graduate faster with linguistics. But when I was going to career fairs at the end, of my years at OU, I was being recruited by Farmers Insurance, so another insurance company. And I had no idea. I mean, that wasn't on my radar to do, but it opened my eyes as to what that industry is like and what that career could bring. So I thought about that, but I decided not to go with it because it was a commission based only. So it's a hard field to get into, I will say, whenever you're trying to become an agent. So I didn't take that. And then I was kind of lost and trying to figure out my way. And I ended up volunteering to go to combatives training because I was still in the Army. And I was like, well, I'll just do this training until I can continue to look for what I want to do. While I was at that combatives training, my sister went to a baby expo and ran into a State Farm agent who saw a good-looking Hispanic couple, and said, hey, approach them about hiring them. And my sister said, no, she works for Union Public Schools and she's worked for them for a long time. And she said, I'm good where I'm at, but I do have a sister who is looking for something. So I think it was fate. I honestly think it was fate that I ended up in that career. I was looking at federal agencies and other things, but this was home.
Hi, everybody. I want to take a short break and let you know about something fun that I'm doing this summer. And it is going to be a special summer mini series called Sharing Her Passion. And it will be a smaller group than our normal groups that we have for our Conversations with Passion and Purpose lunches. So it will be a little more intimate. And my first event in the series will be Thursday, June 5th from 7 to 9 o'clock, and it will feature Chef Shannon Smith, globe-trotting chef, author, philanthropist, and storyteller. And I would love for you to be a part of this intimate live podcast experience as Shannon shares her journey through over 50 countries where she's cooked alongside chefs and home cooks. She's discovered the stories, the flavors, the cultures that have shaped her culinary perspective. So during this conversation, guests will learn how she has built her personal brand, how her passion for food and philanthropy have taken her around the world and back again. Shannon will lead guests also in a cooking demo where she'll create an easy summer appetizer and a refreshing seasonal mocktail that will be delicious. These recipes I know will be your favorites and ones you will want to create and recreate all summer long. Tickets are limited, and so you want to sign up at sharingpassionandpurpose.com. Click on the events link, and the tickets will be available starting Friday, May 9th. This evening will be a great time to connect and network with like-minded women who are looking for growth. So if you are looking for the same and want to have some fun as well, this is the event for you. And so I hope to see you there. Now back to the episode.
This was an opportunity that I had that I could come back home. I said, okay. I talked to her. My sister said she's in combat. She's in the Army. She's in combatives training, but she'll be home in a week. And that agent called me and she hired me before I even came back home. So she was like, okay, you get home on Monday. So on Wednesday, come on into the office. And I said, okay, let's do this. And that was a team member position. So she ran the office and I was basically hired under her. And that was, a little bit more stable for me. So that really gave me a lot of experience and insight and more into what insurance was and what it was like to be an agent. And then at that time, I did have a significant other who was in the Army, but he was back in Oklahoma City. So he was going to get deployed. I ended up moving back. I left that position, moved back with him, and got hired right on with the central office for Farmers Insurance. I worked in claims with them for a while, and I got promoted to come back to Tulsa as a field adjuster. But I knew that I wasn't using my Spanish skill that I had. I wasn't using that to its fullest. I felt like I wasn't making as big an impact in the community as I could in that position. So I started to look at becoming an agent. And I have a buddy in town who I knew from before. Our cousins are friends, and we became friends because of them. And he was like, you need to come do what I'm doing. And so I talked to him, and I always credit him. If he hears this, he'll laugh. But I always tell him he's one of the reasons why I'm at State Farm. He told me his grandpa was an agent, and he told me a little bit more. And I said, okay, yeah, that's what I want to do. So we started working for the same agent. And now we both are agents with our own offices. So I really like it because State Farm's philosophies and theory are in line with mine. So I like the company. I like what they promote in our community and the opportunities they give us to help in the community. So, and now as a team member, whenever we worked for that agent and people came into the office that didn't speak English or weren't proficient in English, you could physically see their demeanor change whenever I would say, hi, hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo te puedo ayudar? And then they would just, physically relax and think, oh goodness, okay, because this is something most people have and have to have if you're driving. So I could see that relief in these customers who were able to get assistance in their own language, and that really even drove me even more into getting into that field.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about your work ethic and that you're a hard worker. And I will say, so from your mom, she talked about your strength in making calls, making cold calls, and have, really hitting the pavement to make things happen for yourself and your family. And so if you could share with people just maybe some words of wisdom when it gets hard, because you've been in the situation, I'm sure, in the military, they're in your younger life, thinking about trying to figure out how to pay for college, and even the beginning of this business. I love that you had so many people that you kind of met and networked with, but still, when you're becoming an agent for yourself, it's your name on the door.
Right.
And so can you kind of share some words of wisdom of what you do when the going gets tough?
Yeah. So you do have to find techniques. I will say you do have to find things that help you find balance in life. Being a business owner, it is difficult to manage, your team. How are they doing? Are they happy? Is everything that needs to be done for the office getting done? Are we moving in the projection that we need to be moving? So you have to have a plan for the future and training. And it's a lot to handle. So finding ways to do that, whether that be time blocking, time management, that's one of the things that I've really had to work on myself. Not letting things get to you and finding ways to be able to reset. Because we do have customers every now and then that will be upset, and not sometimes it's, a claim. They're upset because they were in an accident, because, they had something happen that's not a happy situation. It's a difficult time. And then they call us. It's not because we did something wrong, but they call us upset and kind of take that out on us. So you do have to find a way to keep yourself level and reset and try not to let that weigh on your mind for longer than it needs to. So that's one of the big things, especially with cold calling. I will say people coming into insurance and doing sales on the front end, it's hard because it's a little impersonal, it's one of those things that you just have to be able to brush it off and keep moving forward. So whenever you get told no, or you're like, oh man, I took so much time doing that, but it's part of the job, and you just have to take a deep breath and reset and keep moving forward.
Yeah, thank you for that. Because yes, it's easy to get stuck sometimes, or people will, as I'm talking to people, they'll say, tell me about a situation, and it's like they feel stuck, or they just feel embarrassed, and whatever the case may be, you do have to figure out your way to overcome that and keep moving on, keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Right.
And, just not taking all of that personally. If you make a call and you hear a no, or you're hung up on, or whatever the case may be, that's not necessarily on you. Sometimes it's the situation on the other end. Sometimes they don't have time, for whatever the case may be. But I feel like you've kind of seen it all or maybe heard it all.
Yeah. And it's hard, it is hard to just let that go for someone who was trying to do their best.
Yes.
So I heard somewhere, and I don't remember where I heard this, but it was something that, is this going to affect me for the next 5 minutes, or is it going to affect me for, a long-term period? And that's how much time you need to mentally devote to that as well.
Oh,
so
that's good.
Yeah. Can we, is this going to matter in 5 minutes? Yes or no? Let it go.
Yeah. Right. That's a good way to think about it. So I mentioned also you're passionate about insurance, and I don't know if it's necessarily the passion for insurance. I think it's a passion for people and building relationships.
Right.
Is that, so tell me more about that, what you enjoy about that. Because I feel like you just love what you're doing.
I do, because I know we're helping people protect the things that they've worked so hard for. Mm-hmm. So, and I also say we're kind of a necessary evil. So it's one of those things that you do have to have, just for peace of mind. But whenever somebody goes through a claim and they're like, I don't know what to do, I'm not getting a hold of the other company, it is very frustrating. And when you don't have a way to go to work because your car is not drivable. So that can be very frustrating. And that's what I think I really like helping people through, and making sure that they're understanding what they're paying for, because it's, again, one of those things that nobody knows, I bet you couldn't tell me your coverage is exactly today. It's one of those things that you set up.
No, yes.
You set up and you hope that it's there, to be where you want it to be. It's one of those things that you have to work on with customers as well, because there's a price to it. So sometimes you might say, oh, I don't want that right now. But later you're like, dang it, I thought I had that. So we always try to take the time, and I try to hire people that are of that mindset of, we want to take the time to make sure you're understanding what you're paying for and that it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Because when something bad or something does happen, we don't want you upset because you thought you had something. It still happens. I mean, it's still one of those things that you're like, well, shoot, I thought I had that and I didn't. Mm-hmm. But we try to do our best in helping customers figure that out on the front end. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's, I now I'm going to have to come in and look at that.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. And probably it's good to just go over it every once in a while to kind of see where you stand.
Yes.
With what you have. So yeah.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to call and ask questions, because that's part of what our job is to service that. We are going to mail you a million things, but it's going to be in a different language to you. So it's fine to ask, like, hey, can we call to go over this? Because I'm not sure what this means, or I want to make sure that we have everything. And then situations change. So that's another thing. That is something that I love about my job, is that we will insure someone when they're young, in their 20s, getting a new car. And then they get older, and then they get married, and then they buy their house. And then we get to see that process, and then they have children. And then we talk about life insurance, and we talk about all the things in protecting that family, your assets, and your future stability. So that's one of the other things that I really like, is seeing that progress when we get families come in.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah.
And my kids are older, so they're going to be coming to you in the coming years, I know. So yeah, I'm sure that is very exciting for you. Okay, so in wrapping up, I want to ask you about my theme, a question about my theme. So it's Thrive in 2025, and how you are thriving either personally or professionally.
This year, there is a financial services certification that I've been working on professional side that is one of my focuses in getting this year. It's a very difficult, it's the series 63 and 65 certification. Okay. So variable annuities and investments. Okay. So, and it's a lot to take on. So professionally, that's one of my things that I aim to complete before the end of the year. And I also have learned that it is important to set your own measure of success. So it's easy nowadays to get overwhelmed with everything you see on social media, how everyone else is doing, where should I be, which is great. But another thing that I'm focusing on this year is to make sure that we have our own level, which isn't based on somebody else's. Is, are we doing better than what we did last year? Are we moving in the direction that we want to go in? And, life will come and, set barriers on that path. So also being able to shake that off and be like, okay, where are we now? So tracking where we're at. I'm getting more used to being in this position. So I'm getting more acquainted with tracking where we're at and figuring out where we are versus where we were, and moving forward in that.
Okay. I love that. Because I am very much, I compete against myself. I don't necessarily care what other people are doing or how they're doing in things. I'm looking at me getting better and stronger and growing. And so anyway, that I like that. I feel like, you could get disheartened, if by the comparison, factor, but just kind of more focusing on you getting better, your team getting better, is a great focus, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I started my office at the same time as a friend too. We started at the same time we were hired. We went through internship. We're pretty good friends because of that bond.
Yeah.
But he's single, and has more time. I have a family and 2 kids.
Yes.
So I also had to, take that into stride and tell myself, like, I know he's killing it over there, but you have to find balance. You have to find balance in what you're doing as well. And I can't let my kids, suffer. So, or miss time with mom because we're trying to get something done or reach a certain level. I just have to focus on what I can do and move along my path.
And it's your priorities. Your priorities, I think. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of your clients probably really respect that.
Yes.
Too.
Yes. Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah, I think so. So, okay. So if you'll kind of share how people can find you, where you're located. I know you're located close to me, but just kind of share that for people.
Yes. So our office is just south of 31st and Harvard. The address is 3307 South Harvard Avenue. We are in the Harvard Design Center. So it's a big brick building. Our lettering, we have big red stickers on the windows, but sometimes people tell me it's hard to find, but I think it's because it blends in with that that brick. But we are in Midtown Tulsa. You can also go to www.TaniaBledsoeSF for StateFarm.com.
Okay.
So TaniaBledsoeSF.com, and go on our website and see what products we offer or start a quote, and also read our bios and my team's bios on there as well. Or call us at 918-600-2583.
Okay, that's easy to remember. And I might share, because I've shared this with people that have, because you're saying insurance is required. So, a lot of people that I'm talking to have insurance, but what I have been suggesting is they get a second quote from you just to see, to see where they are on their coverage. And, maybe you're seeing something, or you could talk to them about something that they're not getting, that isn't being offered.
Yes.
And is that a fairly easy process if they contact you for another quote?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And it always is good to check, because insurance is, the prices are going to differ between companies to companies. All the companies are different sizes. They may have rate changes at different times, depending on what they're experiencing or what decisions corporate has made. So it is good to look at it every now and then. The service is also a big thing. That's one of the reasons why I love State Farm, is that they do, having that agent's office present local is a big thing for us. So that is something that for us, we may not always be the cheapest, but we do try to do the best that we can and give that resource of, you can walk in and ask questions if you needed. So that's important. And also just to know what you have, because again, life changes, things change. You might have a spare car at one point, but now you don't. So you didn't have rental car coverage then. Do you need it now? So it's always good to review what you have.
And this is life, home, and auto.
It's life, home, auto. We also do disability products. And we just recently got certified to do Humana. I have a girl in my office that is amazing at it. And so we've primarily gotten that certification. So she has the ability to be able to sell that, because I'm not great at it, but she is. That's one of her strengths. And I wanted her to be able to use that. So Medicare supplements and Advantage plans is another thing that she can review with our customers that we didn't have before.
Okay.
So, yep.
Your office is growing in so many ways, and it's awesome because then you can help so many more people.
Yes.
And so we'll need to talk later when you have the financial side too.
Yes.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's going to be a lot of learning and, to get it right, because that is, a lot of people are scared to do that because it is, that's your life's savings, your life's work. So it's one of the things we have to be really careful with. But I do want to be a resource again for the Hispanic community, because that's something that's not readily available. So I would like to do that.
Good. Okay. Well, I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much for talking to me today. I always enjoy seeing you and spending time with you. This has been great.
Absolutely. Likewise. Yes, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate you being here. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn are at Sharing Passion and Purpose, and Twitter is at Passion Sharing. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.